Hi, this is your host Samni Bharti and welcome to another episode of TFR Let's Talk at KubeCon in Valencia. And today we have with us Ayse. First of all, it's great to have you on the show.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. We have covered Slim so many times, so our audience know about the company, but I would, of course, ask you to tell us some more about the company. But before we talk about the company, I could talk about you. Tell us about yourself. What do you do at the company?
So before the company and me, I would like to take a moment to express gratitude to Swapnil. The fact that we are here at this conference in person, that is focused on developers and open source at the core. And the fact that we can do this face-to-face is a source of pure joy. And I hope that, with my whole heart, we can keep it. It's beautiful, especially at this excellent choice of space and time, spring in Valencia. It doesn't get any better than this. So Slim.AI, as you said, you've covered it a couple of times, but I'll talk about the core mission. And our mission is twofold. For developers, we help developers build secure containers faster. For organizations, we help them secure their supply chain security, the software supply chain automatically. So the keywords there are secure, fast, and automatically. In the same spirit with KubeCon and this very podcast, we have at our core an open source DNA, a genesis. We have this project that is very well known called DockerSlim. It was invented by one of our co-founders, our CTO, Kyle Quest, a technical genius, and it is about to surpass 500,000 downloads right now across the globe. Developers have integrated it to their CI/CD systems, and it has about to get 14,000 stars on GitHub, which makes it among the 0.1% of all the GitHub projects out there, about 12 billion of them. So it's a very special place to start with. And that's the core foundation that we built our technology upon. We extend that technology with Slim.AI, extend its capacity, make it richer, layered, full, a lot more efficient, fast, and secure. So that's what we do at Slim.AI right now.
Excellent. Now I will talk about something which is more kind of technical or core of today's section, which is about software supply chain security as well. So we have been hearing a lot about it last year. Even there were executive orders, by the Biden administration, focusing. Even FBI came up with the hardening Kubernetes guidance. SBOMs are becoming, and there are a lot of open source projects. SPDX is there, the Linux Foundation. Then there are a lot of competing projects as well. So first of all, if I ask you, from your perspective or for what you have seen, how much awareness is there in the space about, understanding the software supply chain? Because it's not like unlike days, a big monolith where all the code base is coming from one source. It's a bit different.
It's quite different, actually. Great question. So you were asking about my background, myself a little bit. I'll start there and then get to the supply chain story in really quickly. So I am an engineer by training. My grad and research work has been focused on operations research, applied math, and physical supply chain. So I am very familiar with that side of the world. And then I spent quite some time, a substantial time in my career in cybersecurity. So right now, 2022 is being talked about as the year of software supply chain security. I would say that the physical supply chain practitioners get the third-party vendor management processes a little better than their software peers. It's something that's being spoken right now, but in the physical side, the companies like Walmarts and Apples of the world have been asking the critical questions. They are doing their due diligence about their third-party, the supplier onboarding very well right now. And there's that transferable knowledge that we can utilize in the software side. And you mentioned how things are changing. I mean, the entire focus at this conference is about open source, how digital economy is run on open source, in future is being built, written in code in open source. there is a lot of reuse of the code as we know it, right? Like, as an engineer, I have seen like how much modules are being used to create. It's almost like not starting with Lego pieces, but you're starting with these modules and configuring in very different ways. And I'm not saying that we're lacking in originality. That's the nature of human progress. It's very cumulative. So you take what is out there and you start adding your own custom code and needs into a whole different thing. But at the end of the day, you come up with these architectures, the architectures of the future metaverses and multiverses that we are building, that are basically like they are a huge code base of third-party vendors, contributors. Some of them you are never aware of. You're not in constant conversation with. And when there's a vulnerability, something happens in the code base, you go into your SBOM, bill of materials, and then try to find which maintainer did what, when, and this is a continuous process as well. The software is a living structure, so it changes all the time. Different versions are being added. Different people are signing different things at different moments. So it is almost like the snowball thing that moves all the time, and you're always behind.
All right. There's one more thing that is happening in the space, and it depends on how you look at it or what kind of commentary is that we look at. We talk about observability a lot these days. Sometimes when we do look at, but I was talking about old school monoliths back in those days. You just one code base, you look at it, you know everything. Cloud native world is kind of the whole DevOps movement was meant to break the old silos. But now we are kind of seeing emergence of new silos. Some people call it federated, but it depends on how much federation is actually going on. Because silos are built in based on your expertise. You are interested in data, so you will go into data. Somebody will go into networking, somebody will go to security. So it's not that utopia that we wanted to build that one person is doing everything else. Which also means that when we talk about observability, it's like what is happening. You can analyze what is happening, but what about doing something about it, which leads to the security, So if you look at all the SBOMs and everything else, you do know what the project is, but who is going to do the work? Where is the owners? I talk to a lot of folks. Some responsibility is on Ayse providers, some is on the vendors, and in the end, everything is on the user because you have to. So where does the bucket stop?
I mean, ignorance is bliss. So if you don't know, you sleep well, I would say, but knowledge is not enough. It goes a long way, I would say. It's not redundant or trivial or unimportant, I will say, but it is not everything, as you said. So how you're going to act upon these things, it matters a lot. That's why we talk about the 3 S's of security. It's actually like, for me, the 3 S's are the SBOM, the signing, and the sliving portions are mostly about this, this deepening of knowledge and action mindset. So with SBOM, I'm thinking of a high resolution map of everything. It is a good way to start. It's a bird's eye view. It is not enough. It can be quite. I don't know if you have looked into any substantial applications SBOM. It is, for a human being, it's very hard to understand. Even for machines, it's not trivial. But then that's the start, right? That's like knowing is a step in the right direction. Then the signing part comes in, where we can talk about truth and trust. So looking at those things on the map and saying, hey, these things are what they say they are. They are coming from the source of truth. We can depend, we can trust them. And in a dynamic system, like today, tomorrow, 2 minutes later, it's really important to get the trust, the truth into the system now. But again, that is not enough by any means. There's complexity that you see, and there is you can trust that you're seeing the truth, but now what, right? So slimming is the part where I think the most intelligence needs to go into the system, and AI recommender systems and all these understandings, but optimization. I see it as a reconfiguration of the landscape. Get rid of everything that you do not need in that landscape before you start that third-party verification process at all. Why do you have to care about care about all the open source packages, licenses, special permissions that you have in your code if they are redundant, if they don't have to be there at all, right? So slimming is mostly about this intelligent optimization layer. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you need to slim right away. You need to give the developers that playground. Give them the option to do all sorts of things, have fun, don't ruin the fun in the process of trying to optimize. Premature optimization, timing is everything. Premature optimization definitely kills the fun. But at the end of the day, you'd want to ship optimized, slim containers that you have removed the fat from, literally and metaphorically. So you want to have the optimized containers in your production environment. That's where the slimming, the third S, comes in. That's where we are a player at.
One more thing is that you folks work on a report. You work on a report, and then of course on next budget. Tell us a bit about the report, especially what were some of the key findings. I'm pretty sure that we touched on some of those topics right now, but tell us about the report.
Container report is the beginning of something a lot more profound. We are investing in this research facility intelligence, and with the container report, we took the first step in the right direction. It is the first of its kind in the industry. It has not been done before. We looked into the top containers in Docker Hub, 140 of them, and we did cluster them, curate them into 9 different categories so that we can do these in-group, out-group dynamics analysis. What we have seen was, and although we have a lot of container enthusiasts, experts in the team, has surprised us. So 3 findings that I would like to very briefly talk about. The first one was about scan times and size correlation. So bloated containers are killing CI/CD pipelines, literally, and they are a time sink, a waste of time for CI/CD pipelines. The second finding was about the complexity, and complexity is hindering understanding for even the best-in-class experts. I was expecting some outlier numbers in the number of packages, special permissions, and libraries we see in containers, but even the averages was so high, it's impossible for DevOps people, developers, to understand what's going on inside these containers. And it is not just the special purpose, it's not just the general purpose containers that are by nature large, but also these smaller spatial containers, build tools and infrastructure and DevOps containers. So it's impossible almost for humans to really understand what's going on under the hood. And the third finding is about attack surface. And it is not about just a vulnerability count. All these special permissions, packages create these zero-day attack surface potential issues for your containers. The vulnerabilities are huge in terms of numbers, but what really struck me was the percentages. As a cybersecurity veteran, I was expecting to see 1-2% of vulnerabilities being in high and critical category, 20% of all these containers, and some of these containers have been pulled by 1 million times from Docker Hub. They contain, 20% on average, contains high and critical vulnerabilities. It's an enormous attack surface, especially in production.
Yeah, the security landscape is, as you said, ignorance is bliss, but sometimes when you start learning about it, but the thing is that we are seeing a lot of positive trends in the direction, awareness is there. So Ayse, thank you so much for taking time out today, share these insights, and also most importantly, you talk about 3 S's of software supply chain security, and also the whole focus on slimming down as well. So I really appreciate those insights, and as usual, I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Huge fan.